It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
A gray, dull Sunday belied a very bright football game played last week at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium between the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Colts, both undefeated and tied for first place in the AFC East Division. Heavy rain had been kept off the field by the tarp. The track was fast, and as the ground crew rolled back the protective covering, Memorial Stadium rolled back the pages of history. Last week, Johnny U made his last appearance in a Colt uniform. Old number 19 had not been seen in these parts since 1972, when he was traded to the San Diego Chargers, retiring after one season there. But when football fans remember Johnny Unitas, it will always be as a Baltimore Colt. Until Fran Tarkenton broke his records, Unitas held all of the pro football passing marks. He is the yardstick by which all pro quarterbacks are measured. Last Sunday, the Colts retired his number, and Unitas said farewell to pro football, a game that he, in large part, helped carry to its present state of popularity. A touch of irony is that the Colts' present coach, Ted Marchibroda, is the man Steelers kept when they cut Johnny Unitas, the legend. Both bespectacled Bob Greasy of the Dolphins and the Colts' Burt Jones are pretty fair country quarterbacks themselves, and Jones may in fact be the next Johnny Unitas. But Dolphin head coach Don Shula has already achieved legendary status. Last year, Shula suffered his first losing season ever, but in just 1 year, he has the Dolphins back at the top. The Dolphins are off to their best start since their 17-0 season in 1972, while the Colts have not started with 3 wins since their Super Bowl season in 1968. One of these perfect seasons will come to an end today in the NFL Game of the Week. Although Halloween was still 3 weeks away, elves, trolls, and sprites were present in Baltimore last week. With a mere rub of his magic lamp, one of them brought on some very strange and remarkable happenings. On the game's first play from scrimmage, Lydell Mitchell scored from 64 yards away and became the Colts' second leading rusher in history, going ahead of Tom Matte. But the first play touchdown, which gave Baltimore a 7-0 lead just 26 seconds into the game, was only the beginning. Witness the very next play after Mitchell's touchdown. Freddie Solomon brought the Dolphins right back with a 90-yard kickoff return. And if the celebration was somewhat less boisterous, the results were not. Now, with just 41 seconds gone in the game, both teams had scored touchdowns, and the score was tied at 7. After the 2 lightning-fast touchdowns, the game became a bore. The Colts were stopped without scoring, and the fans had to wait a full 98 seconds before another touchdown could be put on the board. It came when Benny Malone followed number 67, Bob Kuchenberg's block around right end into the end zone. Malone had duplicated Lydell Mitchell's feat, scoring from 52 yards out on the Dolphins' first play from scrimmage. A look from up top reveals that Greasy sent wide receiver Nat Moore in motion one way, then sent Malone flying in the other direction. This time there was more elation on the part of the Dolphins, but the storyline had not changed. There was still something funny going on, for the score now stood at Dolphins 14, Colts 7, just 2 minutes, 19 seconds into the game. The game had already seen a 90-yard return and touchdown runs of 64 and 52 yards. To this, Jones added a 47-yard pass to Raymond Chester on the Colts' next series. The Colts, however, were not quite so fortunate as the Dolphins. They were unable to complete the drive with a touchdown and settled for a field goal. Baltimore had had 3 possessions and scored 10 points, while the Dolphins had literally only touched the ball twice and scored 14 points. 24 points packed into the first 5 minutes, 3 seconds of the game. The hectic pace could not keep up, and to some extent it did not. The Dolphins finally ran a play on which they didn't score, but the Miami offense was not touchdown or nothing, and shortly thereafter they were threatening again. The Leprechaun was still in the Dolphin tank, for after reaching the Colt 40, Greasy gave to Norm Vulash, who was hit hard and came down without the ball. Another look reveals where the ball went. Vulash lost the ball when hit low by number 43 Norm Thompson and high by number 52 Tom McLeod, but Larry Little recovered for the Dolphins. Though the play indicated that Dolphin luck was still holding, this drive was halted and led to an unsuccessful field goal try as the first quarter closed with Miami in front 14-10. But the second quarter was to be as berserk as the first, as 2 heavyweight sluggers upped their pace even more, scoring 28 points in round 2. The Dolphins got in the first telling blows, riding Greasy's right arm. Greasy was getting plenty of time thanks to his clever ball handling. The same play, when seen from up top, reveals a good play fake, good protection, and a perfect pass. Sure of plenty of pocket time, Greasy on the very next play unleashed a bomb to Duriel Harris, streaking down the left sideline. As Harris reached the end zone, the ball popped loose and was recovered by the Colts. Possession, however, was awarded to the Dolphins, prompting strong protests from the Baltimore defenders. A replay of the action reveals that the officials made the proper call. As Harris was making the catch, contact was made by number 31 Nelson Muncy. And as long as there has been any kind of contact, no matter how slight, with the defender while the receiver has the ball, the receiver is down and the ball is dead. Harris even went so far as to signal touchdown, but officials properly ruled the ball dead on the 1-yard line where he had landed as a result of his contact with Muncy. Incensed, the Colts made a valiant stand. Greasy on 4 straight plays handed off to rookie Leroy Harris. 3 times the Colts threw him back. But on the 4th, Harris found the end zone and Miami led 21-10. The Dolphins were not finished. After Mitchell's early score, they were to run off 28 points to Baltimore's 3. The final touchdown coming after the new name defense stopped the Colts cold following Leroy Harris' touchdown. Again, the score came with shocking suddenness. As for the second time, Malone went the distance on the first play after a change of possession. This time, Malone went 66 yards and would finish the half with 134 yards rushing on only 6 carries. Another look reveals that the play was similar to his first score. Kuchenberg, number 67, cleaned out the corner. Malone this time cut back, causing number 53 linebacker Stan White to overrun him, and he was gone, as Miami rolled up a 28-10 lead just 6 minutes into the second quarter. The Dolphins had now scored 4 touchdowns on their first 5 possessions and had exploded to take an 18-point lead over Ted Marchibroda's Colts. But now, midway through the second quarter, Baltimore, led by Burt Jones, began a furious comeback that would produce 5 unanswered touchdowns. The first salvo was a 33-yard jaunt by Lydell Mitchell that brought Baltimore into Miami territory. Several plays later, Mitchell gave to Glenn Doughty on a reverse that traveled all the way to the Dolphin 13. Two plays later, Jones threw to Doughty at the rear of the end zone for a touchdown that reduced Miami's margin to 11 points. This was a big day for Doughty, who was returning from injuries, and it was a big day for Colt fans who were witnessing an incredible offensive display by these two unbeaten teams. The denizens of Crab Cake Corners didn't have long to wait until their team had the ball again. On the next offensive series, Bob Greasy's handoff was fumbled away by Leroy Harris. The recoverer, number 56, Ed Simonini, the Colts' new middle linebacker, lateraled the ball to Fred Cook, who took it all the way to the Miami 16. But on a fullback reverse, Ron Lee was trapped 9 yards behind scrimmage on a brilliant play by Larry Gordon. And Burt Jones faced 3rd and 13 at the 19. But Jones beat a blitz and burned Larry Gordon by hitting Raymond Chester in the corner of the end zone for a second straight Colt score. The touchdown was a painful one for Chester. And the wonder is that more receivers aren't injured by the jutting dugout at that corner of the end zone. Now trailing by merely 4 points, the Colts sack pack got into action with a 19-yard sack by Ron Fernandez. Unlike the early part of the game, the Colts were now shutting off the outside. And according to Marchibroda, the reason was left linebacker Tom McLeod and cornerback Norm Thompson, who were playing more aggressively and fighting off blocks. Thompson, number 43, was an important offseason acquisition for Baltimore. His reputation at St. Louis was excellent against the pass, but poor against the run. But this time, the Colts wasted the opportunity when Don McCauley fumbled Jones' pass, and Tim Foley recovered for Miami. Now, for the first time since early in the quarter, Greasy got his team on the move. Duriel Harris brought the ball to the Colts 39. Then Greasy tried to hit his tight end Andre Tillman in the end zone, but Tillman couldn't hang on. This brought on Yepremian for a 35-yard field goal try, but the little guy was wide to the right, and the first half fireworks ended 28-24. Through the first 3 weeks of the '77 season, the Dolphin defense had not given up a touchdown in the second half of play. But now as the Colts came over the ball for their first series of the third quarter, that particular record was in danger. Burt Jones had a hot passing hand, and he was no different this half. Scrambling away from pressure, he hit reliable Don McCauley over the middle for a 21-yard gain. Then on a 3rd and 2 situation at the Miami 34, Jones, with all day to find a proper target, threw to McCauley for the touchdown that put Baltimore back in the lead. Late in the quarter, a good punt had backed the Dolphins up against their own end zone, and Baltimore's fiercely aggressive defense, led by Fred Cook, kept them there. When Don Nottingham fumbled the ball on his own 5, Burt Jones wasted no time in padding the Colts' lead. Glenn Doughty had his second touchdown of the game, and the Colts had some breathing room, now up by 10, 38-28. Afterwards, Ted Marchibroda said, "I never doubted we'd come back. I knew we could score when we wanted to." With less than 2 minutes remaining in period 3, Miami's offense could go absolutely nowhere against the revved up and hard-charging Colts. At the start of the fourth quarter, again with great field position, the Colts seemingly got another touchdown, this one by second-year fullback Ron Lee. But center Ken Mendenhall was called for holding, and instead of 6 points, Baltimore had 1st and 20 from the 28. Tim Foley had replaced Dick Anderson at strong safety, and Jones quickly took advantage of the matchup by hitting Raymond Chester at the 1. It was a fine catch against a much smaller man and led to Don McCauley's touchdown over right tackle on the very next play. Baltimore's total ballooned to 45 points, the most scored against a Miami team coached by Shula. The Colts defense continued to be just as impressive. In the fourth quarter, every Miami possession ended in a turnover caused by the Baltimore defense. The defensive line, known as the Sack Pack, was really teeing off. Another look at linebacker Stan White's easy interception reveals number 78, John Dutton, hit Greasy just as he was releasing. And it was this that caused the interception. On Miami's next possession, strong safety Bruce Laird, number 40, kept Jim Mandich from making a touchdown catch. The officials ruling Mandich never had possession long enough. That brought up a 4th and 3 on the Colt 28. Here, Fred Cook took charge. Ever since he let Norm Evans go in the expansion draft, Shula has been seeking a right tackle, and today's incumbent, Mike Curran, could not handle Fred Cook, who was responsible for 5 sacks on Miami's four-eyed quarterback. Miami's last gasp came when Duriel Harris somehow came down with a pass good for 47 yards, much to the dismay of the Colts secondary. Then the sack pack, again led by Fred Cook, took over for 2 successive sackings. Shaken Greasy was replaced by Don Strock, who on Miami's last offensive play of the game was intercepted by Bruce Laird. It ended a wild and woolly old-fashioned shoot-'em-up, the kind Johnny Unitas used to enjoy in his heyday. All told, there was 792 yards gained, second highest in league history. But it was Baltimore who prevailed and now leads the AFC Eastern Division still unbeaten, and a game ahead of the deflated Dolphins.